This is New School Marketing Podcast for real estate pros, where the very best of real estate reveal their latest systems and strategies. With your host, Marlon Aquino.
What's up, guys? Marlon Aquino here with Social Buzz, and I'm super excited today to bring this live Q&A because I've got a special guest that's got the fastest growing real estate team in the nation. And if there's anything you could learn today, it's going to be from him. So without further ado, Chastin J to the show.
What's up?
Not much. Thank you for joining us, Chastin. We've been following you for a while, and we're seeing you do big things. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Listen, so real quick, we don't want to waste too much time. I mean, I've been following you for a while. You've got a podcast. You've got a website that's got a blog. It's got YouTube content. You seem to be all over the place, but can you take us back to when you first started and the hurdles before we got to all that, good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So I first became licensed as a real estate agent back in 2013. But it took me a very long time to do my first deal. I mean, I was doing everything that I thought that I needed to do. I was quote unquote working hard, but it just wasn't happening for me. I just wasn't experiencing all of this success that so many random people who didn't know me told me that I would experience. And so, as I continued to work at it, I finally started to pick up on things here and there. I started doing some outside education. So outside of the stuff that I was getting from my real estate brokerage, just to really better myself. But it took me a good probably 8 months or so before I closed my first deal. Yeah, I know that's a long time without a paycheck. And to be honest with you, it got to a point where one day I was leaving my apartment to go do an open house, and my electricity got cut off, because I didn't have enough money to pay the bills. And nonetheless, I said that I was going to go out there. I was going to sell this house. I really needed it. I mean, I really needed some money, obviously. Had a fourth of tank of gas in my car and drove about 45 minutes to go and host this open house. And I set up to hold this home open for 3 hours. First hour went by, nobody came in. Second hour, nobody came in. And I'm not kidding you, by that third hour, I knew nobody was gonna be coming in there. And I remember walking to the front door and locking that door. And man, I just had a breakdown. I literally fell to my knees crying, like, a grown man crying, because it just wasn't happening for me. And I had told all these people that I was going to be this successful real estate agent. I had moved all the way across the country to start as a real estate agent, spent all my money trying to get up and get successful in this career. And here I was with my lights turned off at home, my gas light already on, and not knowing what the next thing that I was gonna do. It was at that moment that I felt like I completely failed. I had said that word to me, failure, and I really couldn't see a way out. Most importantly, what happened in that moment was a big mind shift happened with me, because I reflected back on everything that I had done up until that point, all this training, all these things that I had done up until that point, and I realized how I was being very reactive instead of proactive. And it wasn't really about the actions that I was doing, because I was doing everything that I thought I was supposed to do, but it was about how I was actually doing them. And that was the problem. And so I really went on a journey, for the next year after that, trying to figure out how to do this, how to do it the right way. And over time, I unlocked certain things and I started figuring things out. But what really happened was I became obsessed with that. I became obsessed with how to do something. I'm the type of person now, whatever idea comes in my head, I'm like, okay, how can I do that? And I set out and I figure it out and I make it happen. And so, it's been quite a journey. But I've learned some big lessons and I've made some big moves along the way. But, it's my story.
It seems to have paid off. First of all, you hit on a big point here, which is that you really had a dig deep inside and you were doing all these things and you had to stop and say, wait a minute. I know I'm doing all these things, but am I doing it correctly? Am I going about it the right way? What for you? Because I know so many real estate agents, I find myself, are doing a lot, yet feel like they're not getting anything done. So for you at that level, what did it really require? And I mean by that, yeah, you had read the books, you have done the trainings. I'm sure you even had mentors at that point. What did it really take? What were the actual steps that you took, whether it was cutting Netflix or it was, telling some family members, for the next 8 months, I'm going to be a little gone. And even you, a lot of times, we are the biggest obstacle. So what did you have to tell yourself? Okay, get back in line in order to get to where you did?
Yeah, I had to really figure out what I valued, and when I talk about value, I'm not talking about, my values are determination and this and that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I valued out of life, because I realized that I was placing value on things that we shouldn't have had any value at that time. So for instance, why am I valuing getting 30 minutes or an hour more of sleep versus getting my butt up and going into the office? Or why am I valuing hanging out with people who aren't helping me get anywhere just to show face or just to have a good time or because I had a rough week? Like, why am I putting value on that kind of stuff? I had to start to put value on more productive activities and not sit around and say, okay, I've done everything that I could do for today. Now it's time to go and rest. Why was I resting? I can't rest with no money in my pocket, So I had to become the hardest working person that I knew. And you ask anybody today, they're going to tell you that boy works hard. How do you do it, Chastin? You do all this and that. How do you do it? It's because I work harder than anybody else around me. And at that time, I wasn't doing that because, like I said, I was putting value on things that should not have had any significant value in my day-to-day.
Ooh, that is powerful. I believe it was Grant Cardone that said something very similar to that degree. He goes, the only thing you need to be known for is not that you're a realtor, it's not that you did this and that you accomplished, that you're the hardest worker in the room.
Yeah.
Everything will come to you when you've got that obsessive personality that I think drives success. So can you take us from that solo agent? I know like I said, I've been following you for a while, reading the blogs, hearing the podcast, and I know in one of them, you said you started off with a team of like 2 or 3, then you had to, it didn't work out. You left it for like a year. You came back. What was that process starting again? 1 and 2, why start again?
Sure. Yeah. When I started my very first team, it was because I was very busy and I needed support. I needed help. So my very first team just consisted of myself, kind of an admin person who I was sharing with another agent, and then a buyer's agent who was working with buyers as I was going out there to get listings. But it was all around my personal production. What I was doing, everything was going in my name. And then I kind of let my ego get the best of me. It's just like, I didn't feel like everybody was working as hard as I was. So I was just like, I can do this myself. Why am I paying, or like, why am I putting all this extra stress on things when I know how to do it? And so I kind of dissolved that, everybody started going in their own directions. And then probably like a year later or so, I had worked really hard that real estate year, and I'll never forget this. I we had this big production board in our office. So it had every single agent's name on there and all of their production, and so your production would increase all through the year. And I remember leaving the office one day and I walked by it and I was like, that's a really nice number. I'm really proud of myself. And then I walked in the next morning and the board was erased. Now, it was erased because they were resetting the board for the next year, but that did something to me mentally. And I had a moment there. I was like, dang, I worked so hard to get this number so high, and then overnight it's just erased, and it reminded me of like how real estate is. It's kind of like no matter what you do in 1999, 2019, come 2020, it starts over and you have to do the same thing again. And that's when I said, man, Chastin, how long are you going to do this? And is this your real purpose? Is this your real purpose to chase a number and then reset come January 1st? And I sat down with myself and I said, no, it's not my purpose. I want to be bigger. I want to do more. And that's when I decided to start Founders Real Estate Group. Funny thing, my original real estate team, it was named the Chastin J Miles team. Like I said, it was all about me. And then I started Founders. And I wanted everybody on this team to feel like they were a founder of something. Like I tell people on my team, we are all the time growing. We are all the time changing. We are all the time becoming new. And everybody gets to say as if they are the founder of this business. It now became my responsibility and my charge to help lift these other people up, because I remember what it was like when I was trying to start this business. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to create an environment to where an agent can have every single thing they need and not want for anything to really become great at this the way that it's meant to be, and not the way that people have made it be out of their own egos.
That makes a strong point. It's almost like parenting in a sense. You kind of become the parent that you, in a sense, didn't have, that you wanted to have in a way. So what were some of those hurdles that maybe some of those things that you didn't have that you felt like, man, if I'm going to come, if I'm going to have a team, this is how I'm going to set them up. What were some of those things that you felt set them up to succeed?
I would say
and I mean that because you've got the fastest growing team in real estate right now.
Yeah.
So that's not by coincidence. And getting a group of people to do, on a same mission is not an easy thing.
Yeah. I would say a big thing that I didn't have was a say in anything. Like it takes a lot to really see all of the different personalities and all of the gifts that people have to contribute when you're not just looking at yourself all the time. A lot of people are just focused on what they want to do. This is my idea. This is how I want to build it. And not really listening to the people who are actually sitting in those seats every day. I have a tremendous amount of back-end support. So here on my team, I have a marketing coordinator on staff, transaction coordinator on staff, an office manager on staff, a sales director on staff. So as the agent, all they got to do is get out and sell. You're not going to be bogged down with paperwork. You're not going to have to become an expert at Photoshop. You're not going to have to, just do all of this stuff.
One man.
Exactly. You're not going to have to be that. Plus, you get to have this culture around you of people who are all working towards the same thing, but are pushing each other up. I know real estate is a very competitive field, and we're all trying to make a check out here. But guess what? There's enough real estate out here for everybody. And so why are we spending time trying to tear each other down when we can all work as a collective to lift each other up, to go against these companies who are trying to put billions of dollars behind tearing us down as an industry?
Yeah, which, you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I didn't even have it prepared to ask, but what are your thoughts? Because now, I'm sure you've heard of Zillow coming out with their own brokerage, and even though it's gonna not kind of be like a real brokerage, it's the foot in the door that could lead to something more. So what are your thoughts when it comes to that?
How can I put this? I guess my biggest thing is Do you feel like Louis Vuitton is worried about the backpacks that Target sells? The best way that I can put it. You know, I don't view them as competition. They target and they're going after a certain consumer, and those aren't my consumers, and that's not my target market. You know, I'm not going after people looking for a super low offer or just to be rushing out of their house or have a distressed no. My business and my business model is based off of service, is based off of our offerings, what we do have to offer, but most importantly, what it's based off of, it's based off of relationships. And there's no algorithm that they can build that's gonna create an authentic relationship. So therefore, we don't even run in the same leagues.
You know what? That was on point. I'm not even gonna touch it. But since we're in that topic already, can we see some of the videos? So I know you do a little bit of everything when it comes to lead generating. Obviously, you got mailers, you got social media, you got ads like Google, Facebook. What do you guys focus on your team? What has really helped you go from point A to point Z?
Sure, we work a lot with our databases. And I like to call them the people who you don't think would do a real estate transaction. Because, we all walk around here with hundreds of people in our phones, hundreds of people, if not thousands on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But we're always in this real estate industry trying to chase people who we don't know, just because they may have clicked the button on a website or clicked some form. So we really focus a lot on our existing databases. We do a lot with our past clients. This came about because I realized I had hit like 60 deals as a solo agent, and not one of those deals has sent me a referral over the years. And I was like, why is that? All these blogs that I read, everybody talked about working these referral-based businesses. Why is that not happening for me? Mm-hmm. And it was because I wasn't putting in the time nor the effort of maintaining my database and maintaining and appreciating the people who had gotten me to where I am now. And so a lot of things that we do, we mail out gifts every single month. Everybody in our past client database gets a gift. We have quarterly client appreciation events. We do first-time home buyer seminars, and we do first-time home owner seminars. So once they've purchased a home with us, we host those once a quarter to where we let them know and we invite them to a seminar on how to take care of your home. We introduce them to our partners, all that good stuff. We have giveaways. So we really do a lot to make sure that we are maintaining our past clients and that we can get referrals from them. We want them to really feel good about us about them referring us somebody.
You don't have a business, and I read somewhere, you don't have a business if you don't have repeat customers. Mm-hmm. So that goes to your point where, you saw that there was obviously something wasn't working in your favor at that end, which is, most of your business should come from repeat customers. So obviously you went and implemented this whole other part, which I'm pretty sure 80% of the people out there miss out on things like that because they're focusing on the right now customers and forgetting about their database, which is the bigger chunk of what they have. So for you, when it comes to generating these leads, sounds like you've got a perfect follow-up lead and, maintaining that relationship, continuing to add value to that relationship. How do you win them over when it comes, whether it comes from, a referral, when it comes from, actually, that might be a little easier. So something like, ads, a blog, what's the process that your team goes through to, convincing them? Because now they've got Zillow that they're probably checking first. They're getting hit up by 5 other agents, local agents in your area. How do you win them over?
Sure. Something about real estate, most of us have access to the same tools. We have access to the same database, systems, all that kind of stuff. And so the way that we have to really work hard to secure the business, and I wouldn't even say work hard, but I always tell my team members, we have to become valuable. because we're not the cheapest agents out here. We don't really cut our commissions, but there are people out there that obviously pay for what they find valuable. Okay. And so if we can portray our value in a way that resonates with whoever we're talking to, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. It's not going to be the same for everybody. We have to work hard to really know who's sitting across from that table and show them how we can be valuable to specifically them, not just any buyer, not just any seller, but specifically them. Because what's important to me may not be of importance to you. And it's just communicating. I'm big on communication. We have a lot of training around my office on communication and language patterns and how to speak to people and, really getting to know people. And when you can do that, when you can find their strongest needs and what's valuable to them, that's what we present to them. That's what helps that sell. We're just meeting them where they're at. We're solving their problem. And that's how we get our agreement signed. That's honestly what it is. I like to tell people there's no secret formula or secret sauce. The secret has been out here for ages, but you've gotten blinded by all of the flashing lights. Okay? You've gotten blinded by all of the systems and the automations and all this stuff, and you've forgotten to be a human at the end of it. You're trying to sell yourself by whatever little listing presentation book versus who you are as a person. Connect with me. And people like to work with people who they like and who they have that connection with. Okay? So that's essentially what we do. That's how we secure our business. We are comfortable enough to know that everybody is not our client. Okay? And when you can know that, you walk with a different confidence. You walk with your head higher. Hey, I'm not the one for you. No worries. Here's a few referrals for you that might work better for you. And I'll go collect my referral fee. But, I don't BS people. Like, we're just not the one for everybody. But we have to identify that early on if we're even going to continue to go down that road of trying to become that solution.
And more than not, when you're in that situation and you go and you take the higher ground, right? You take that act, most of the time they'll still find a way to work with you. Is the thing too. They won't forget you. There's someone else, even if they worked with, the guy B that you recommended, they'll still, hey, work with guy A because he's special. My sister recently bought her second home. So she was like, well, okay, I should find some help. So she was looking for a realtor. She's out in Florida. The first realtor that she got, nightmare experience for her. And again, back to what you were saying, communication, key communication. She just said, I don't know what this lady was doing. I don't know what she did for us. She put a sign in the front and I don't know what else after that she did. So she felt bad because it was referred to by a friend of the family. But at some point, she made a decision to say, hey, I don't think I'm going to do anything for right now. But what she really did was go find someone else.
Yeah.
This person came through and it was day and night. She said, this person let me know in advance what to expect. This person let me know what were the things that I was going to need to have towards the end so that we're not waiting till we get there. And on top of that, I got to work, Marlon. I got to do all this. And at the end of the day, when I'm sitting down tired, is when it's coming to me and I'm going, I still have this to deal with. When I can go back to an email, when I can go back to a voicemail, or even a missed call and say, at least this guy has my back. This person, or woman, whoever has my back. And that's rare. So my hat's off to you and your team because, again, you have to know, like you said, when to say no.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, are you guys focused on any digital advertising at all? Or are you guys mainly focused on mailers, like you said, focusing on database?
No, we, of course, do a lot through YouTube and then also Instagram.
Ooh, YouTube is huge. And then you know what? Not enough realtors are getting on YouTube yet. I think they're being confused about running the ads and all this and what kind of video they would make. Do you have a team with you that's helping you come up with, content ideas, or is it you're kind of come up with it on the fly?
No, so I actually do. My kind of right hand man, I like to call him. His name is Brendan. He's around me all the time with a camera. He travels with me. He researches. I really like working with him because he understands the audience very well, because he was once a part of that audience. And Brendan persistently reached out to me for a while through Instagram, and he really has that eye for the things that will serve people. So he sometimes works alongside our marketing coordinator for Founders, Nico, and they come up with awesome things, not only for just my content, but for the Founders content as well.
Well, I saw, I was looking at the Founders website as well, and I love how there's this sense of, where everyone's being included. No one's being left out. It didn't seem like you were trying to, take the spotlight, like you said. Well, I'm the big guy here. There was a sense of like we're all equals here, and we're all got that, like you said, that one mission in common. So, last thing, you've got a podcast, you've got your blog. Can you tell us more about these channels and your goals for them? Obviously, coaching is becoming a thing, right? Where, recently I interviewed someone by the name of Ricky Carruth, who I don't know if you know who is. He's got his coaching that he offers for free. Then you've got the Tom Ferry, who's been a while for years. And obviously, I'm sure it's not a free package.
Right.
Why did you decide that you wanted to come in, get in the game, and it's competitive?
Yeah, I have something to offer, and people were kind of demanding it. So it was like, all right, why not? But more specifically with my podcast is the Power Unit Success Cast, and my goal for that was, I was listening to all these other people's podcasts, and they were all interviewing successful people, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great, and that's great, and that's great. But sometimes as humans, we can feel so far removed from those people that we just automatically start putting those thoughts in our head of, oh, it's going to take me too long to get there, or I'm not that guy, he speaks very well, and he dresses like he has the money now. Because I was that guy. Like people say, yeah, you can achieve it in this and that, but it's just like, tell me how, And so what I wanted to do with the Power Unit Success Cast was I wanted to have real agents out there who are experiencing the day-to-day. I mean, I've had agents on the podcast who just became licensed a few days before they appeared on there. And then I've had agents on there who have been licensed for years, but I wanted them to be able to have a place to share what they were experiencing, and for me to give real-time feedback on what to do, because what I've found is that as I get these emails and these DMs and YouTube comments, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of the same things. And so why is nobody talking about this stuff? Maybe those first 5 days in the business, or what do I do when my broker won't answer the phone, or, so I just wanted to create a place to provide that type of feedback. Like, it didn't need to be a huge production. They're literally just people calling in, sharing what they're experiencing. And it's been very valuable to a lot of the agents out there. I do have a coaching program. It is by application only, though, so it's not something that anybody can join, because I'm just really big on keeping the mission of the program and being able to speak at the high level that I want to speak at, and train at the high level. I know a lot of people are just looking for some secret sauce, or answer that they feel like they haven't discovered. Well, that's not my program. I'll give you that stuff for free. But when you're ready to work, and to work hard, that's when we accept you into the program. So, yeah.
And awesome. Thank you. So honestly, what's one thing, and this will be the last question that you would, and actually before I say that, on what you were saying, when I have my guest on, or even just in general, I'm checking out podcast blogs, reading it, and even with each person, I've got to kind of, our time, right, is so valuable. That's the only thing we don't get back. So I want to make sure that I'm going to give 30 minutes of my time to a podcast, that it's going to be something that I can offer back to value to whoever, is in my life. So I'm going through some of them and I'm like trying to pick and choose. I was looking at your podcast list so far, right? Because you haven't been doing it for too long, have you?
No, it hasn't been.
And honestly, I was so tempted because I want to go through each one. Each one was so good. Each one. I was like, oh, that topic. Oh, that. Yeah. I'd have to just like start somewhere. And I ended up listening to probably 4 or 5 consecutively. So my hat's off to you. You're so right. So many times we're getting insights from people who have already done it, but we're not getting that, down in the trenches. What does it take to get there? And you're doing that. So kudos to you. My last thing is, where can we find you? Where can our fans, followers learn more about you? And obviously, if they're interested in getting some coaching, reading your podcast, where can they do that?
Sure. You can actually just go straight to my website, chastinjmiles.com. And on my website, I have so many resources. I mean, there's the videos, there's links to the podcast, there's my book. But what I recommend everybody start off with, I have a real estate agent business assessment there on my website that they can get for free. And it'll help you take a real look at your business, where you are currently and really evaluate it to see what direction you truly need to go in. So I always recommend people get that, but everything is on my website. That's where you're going to find all the good information.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure to have on, and obviously we're going to continue following your journey, and hopefully we'll be part of it and seeing you grow. So thank you so much. Guys, those of you that tuned in, thank you for watching another yet a great episode. Our guests, as you saw, dropped tons of gold nuggets for you guys. Make sure to tune back in later this week. We'll have these all chopped up, and you can see the highlights of the best parts of the whole interview for those of you that don't have the time to watch the whole thing. But thank you, and till next time, guys, have a great one.